So I picked up one of these EBD-A20H load testers on eBay. And here it is. I've got it wired up. I'm just testing 3S lithium-ion battery pack at 18650s right now. I'm just trying to drain down the voltage. But anyways, here's the device. Sorry for all the wiring in the way. So it lets you pick maximum power or maximum amperage. The total limit is either 20 amps or 200 watts, whichever kind of comes first. Pretty normal stuff. And so anyways, the menu is okay. It's very Chinese, meaning there's no like flow to anything. You long press on the singular knob, you know, the little silver knob right there. You long press on that to get into like the setup menu. And then you have to push the knob to go through each value and even each sub value. So like if you're trying to adjust the voltage, it starts you out at the hundreds of volts and the tens of volts, then the solid volt, you know, it's a mess. So anyways, what I've got it in right now is constant power mode. I've got it set to 180 watts for this particular battery pack. You see the watt hours kind of clicking away there, which is fine. It shows you the voltage. Now it's got 4 posts, pretty normal for a load tester. I mean, this is obviously a pretty basic one, but I didn't feel like wiring up the voltage lead directly to inside of the battery pack to get like a more accurate reading. So it does come with these cables that are super thin, but all they're meant to do is if you wanted to get a voltage reading, they're not meant to necessarily carry a lot of current. That's just for the voltage sense, so it can know what voltage it's actually at. So right now, obviously, I've just jumped it to the amp posts, right where I'm actually pulling current from. Not ideal, but that's just a workaround because it's going to be good enough. It's not like a super long wire run, and these are pretty thick cables with minimal losses due to the resistance of the cables, so it should be okay. So anyways, the button on the front, this one, it is actually to engage the load or not. So if I push off or if I push it again, it's not like a switch that sticks in or out. It's just like a momentary switch, so it has no click or anything like that. It just makes contact. The device knows what to do. And so anyways, right now, and I'll go through the menu in just a minute, but let's cover this stuff. So it comes with a user manual. It's completely in Chinese. There's nothing besides the shared menu items that is in English. So it's just totally Chinese. So that didn't help me at all. There was a warranty registration card, which is totally in Chinese. And then a QA inspection card. Who would have thought? Look at that, beautiful. It did come with this set of cables, which is just alligator clips on one side and then an actual ring connector on the other end. And then of course, it came with the ones that I already showed you, which are the really, really thin ones, not meant to carry current, just for voltage sensing that are plugged into it. Now, on the back panel, it has a master power switch. This one is a press in, pop out switch, so it does actually click into place. There's a data port. Oh, it did come with the connector. I forgot to show you that. Sorry. Here's the data connector. It has a 4-pin. I'm sure it has a real name, but I have no idea what it is. And it's got USB on the other side. There is software that you can use. I have not used it yet. It seems very rudimentary. But anyways, on the back panel, you've got the data port, you've got the power input. It does have one of the worst power adapters I've ever felt in my life. It's a 12 volt, 1 amp thing that weighs, there has to be basically nothing in there. It literally weighs nothing. So it's super cheap. I'm sure it's sketchy, but the good news is that it only runs the base circuitry. Obviously, the rest of the power for this thing is coming directly from your load. So it's really just running the controller chips and the display, essentially, is all I can base it off of. Because if you stop the load, disconnect the load, the display and stuff still works. So anyways, I mean, that's it. There weren't many resources on this online, so I wanted to post this up as soon as I got it. I ran through a couple tests. You can see this is my fire prevention system. I've got a big ass pot, and so if this thing catches on fire, it's on a granite surface. I'll just pop the pot on top of this thing and that'll extinguish it. So I was prepared. That's my fire extinguishing system. But so far I've pulled out a lot of juice out of this battery pack, and I haven't put an independent load to it to see if like what it says it's doing. As far as on this, what it says it's doing is really real. Like, am I actually pulling 18.36 amps out of this battery pack? So I don't know if that's really close, but I can tell you based on the heat output with similar loads that I put on this thing and kind of what I'm feeling on the battery pack itself, where the actual series connection wires that are in this thing, because it's a 3S pack, and then the BMS unit is right here. It's one of the simple ones with a balancing circuit. But anyways, it's getting pretty warm. Like this thing's pushing a lot of amps right now. And so, you know, it appears to be basically accurate, I'll put it that way. So anyways, let's look at the menu. I'll kind of show you if we can get a little glance in here. So if you just single press it in here, it switches between amp view, essentially I'll call it, and then watts view, where this one will tell you right now that it's set to CP, which is constant power at 180 watts. It'll tell you the total watt hours it's pulled out. And then if you press it, it moves that into amps. So it'll tell you I pulled out a total of 14 amps and, oh, sorry, I tell you I pulled out a total of 4.3 milliamp hours. And that's essentially it. So it's doing its thing. So let me long press, which won't do anything until I turn it off. So I'll hit the switch. So here, the switch, there's no click or anything, but now you'll notice the amperage went to 0. My voltage spiked back up. Now there's no load. So anyways, that measurement has stopped. So now if I long press, then it goes into, the first mode is DSCCP, which is just the constant power. You set your power rating. This is that ugly navigation scheme where you just have to keep like, okay, yes, next digit, next field, next field. This voltage thing is the minimum voltage, meaning the cutoff. So whenever the voltage sense hits 9 volts, it'll stop the test. And then you can also set a time limit. I just happen to set both a voltage cutoff and a time limit of 20 minutes here. These both appear to work. I've checked the voltage cutoff and the time cutoff with a short time, and it was fine. If you go back to the first field though, it's pretty simple. If you switch it over, it goes to constant current mode. So instead of defining the power, you can just put it under the constant number of amp load, right? Which is fine. You know, if you wanted to test 10 amps regardless of the voltage that it goes to under the load, that's the appropriate way. Versus if you want to do power, I just want to set it to the same power output. So therefore amps would scale up in my example as the voltage trails down as we kind of eat through the battery capacity. But that's pretty much it. You set your stuff here, you long press to get out of the setup menu. I actually set something very wrong, but there you go. So now I'm back in CP mode, which is what I want. So long press to get out of setup menu. We're sitting here. It always shows you the last run that you had on the display, unless you had totally turned it off, in which case it'll be zeroed out. But it'll show you the last run that you had, showing that, okay, so in this case, I like to flip this one back to my wattage view. So it'll say, hey, that's what we did last time. And then if I press the on button again, resets, kicks back up, and then it's pretty good at saying at what it believes to be the constant power. So that's pretty much it. I mean, for a reasonable price, I think it was 80 bucks, 70 bucks on eBay. A little skeptical, right, that it would work long term. There is a cooling fan here. You probably heard that. That's been running essentially the whole time. And it does work. It puts out a good bit of heat. And it feels like it's doing a pretty good job of getting rid of whatever heat's in there. And if, I don't know if you can see this on the video, but if you peek in here, there is a large heat sink that's in there. Everything is wired up kind of, it looks like point to point with maybe a single circuit board, which is a little strange, but hey, it's cheap. It's pretty light. It weighs as much as like a cheap computer power supply, if I'm being brutally honest. But that's pretty much it. I mean, not a bad device. EBD-A20H, they're on eBay. They're pretty good. I'd recommend it. Not too bad. Hope that helps.